culture of timidity is on full display. Those same do-nothing Democrats want to blame our losses on our defense of black people, of trans kids, of immigrants, instead of their own lack of guts and gumption.
Wow. Okay. Joining us now, Democratic Congressman James Clyburn of South Carolina, of course, a longtime leader in the House Democratic Caucus. Sir, I'm very grateful to have you in the arena today. And I want to start there. Who is Governor Pritzker talking about? And what was your reaction to that?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Well, it's nice to hear. And I think he may have felt good delivering it. I don't disagree that there are some people who are timid. There are some people who are simmering. But for the most part, Democrats are out in the hustings. I just finished 2 weeks of town halls and listening sessions all over my congressional district, or my state, for that matter. And I can tell you, Democrats are engaged, Democrats are coming back, and we all had to get over losing an election that none of us thought that we would lose, or thought that we should have lost. But we lost simply because of some of the things I think the governor is talking about. So I don't disagree with him. I just don't believe that he's talking about all Democrats.
Can you go a little bit farther? You say you don't disagree with him entirely. There were some things, some of this was why you lost. What parts of it were?
Well, I think that our party has a tremendous message for the American people, and all you got to do is look at the results of the polling, and you see that we are in touch with the American people as far as substance is concerned. I think the party has come up short stylistically, and I think that all of us know that has been a problem for Democrats, and I think that's what the governor is talking about. That kind of speech that he just gave sets fire on the people. It expresses in a very fiery way what Democrats are feeling. It's a different style that, say, Joe Biden had and a lot of other Democrats still have. Okay. And so you have to sort of reconcile those two things. When you look at the polling data, you tell people what the different parties stood for. Democrats came out fine on substance. We just lost on style.
So speaking of style, I want to show you what Senator Chuck Schumer had to say over the weekend when he was talking about how Democrats are fighting back on what the Trump administration is doing with universities. Let's watch.
So we sent him a very strong letter just the other day asking 8 very strong questions about why this isn't just a pretext.
Is that the style that's going to win Democrats' elections?
I think that's exactly what I'm talking about. The letter is great because it's got all the substance in it. In fact, I was on Harvard University's campus on the day they made their announcement to push back against what the president was doing. And that was a style that people wanted, and they rallied to that cause. And that's exactly what I am talking about. When the senator from New Jersey, Senator Booker, stood on the floor for more than 25 hours, people loved it. People love.
Well, that's a distinctly different example from the letter, I would say.
Totally different. But standing on the floor was one thing. The substance of what he had to say, most people can't tell you a whole lot about what he said. They just like the way he did it. And I think that that's what I'm talking about here. What we Democrats have got to do is marry these two. Get the substance of our programs into the style within which we deliver it, and I think we'll begin to show better in the polls. That's already beginning to happen. Yeah. And I think that you'll see that a whole lot more of that going forward.
Sir, at the White House Correspondents' Dinner over the weekend, one reporter who won one of the awards spoke about former President Joe Biden. Of course, you played an enormous role in his initial winning the Democratic primary, and then, of course, went on to win the presidency. I want to show you what Alex Thompson said. We'll talk about it. Take a look.
President Biden's decline and its cover-up by the people around him is a reminder that every White House, regardless of party, is capable of deception.
With everything that has happened with Donald Trump, do you believe that President Joe Biden bears any responsibility for Trump's election because of that particular reality?
Well, we all have some responsibility for this. The fact of the matter is, Joe Biden, on substance, once again, was an outstanding president. You can look at his record. You can look at the records of all presidents, Democratic presidents going back, and you aren't going to find anything that matches his record until you get back to Lyndon Johnson, back doing his Great Society efforts. Now, the fact of the matter is, whatever may have or may not have been the decline, I've never worked in the White House. So I was not around Joe Biden enough to tell you anything about his decline. I talked to him on the phone a lot. I saw him at events a lot. I saw no more in his declination than I've seen in anybody else's. I'm 2 years older than Joe Biden. I just have a different style than he has. And so people all age differently. And so for us to sit here and talk about Joe Biden as if we are physicians and can make these kinds of evaluations, a lot of us who interacted with him could not make an evaluation like that, and I still can.
All right, Congressman Jim Clyburn, I'm very grateful to have you on the program, sir. I hope you'll come back soon.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, our panel is back now. Chuck Todd, there's a lot there.
It's always a communication. Nobody ever wants to say that they have a substance problem. It's always a communications problem. I've never met a president who didn't think that all of their problems were because they just didn't communicate it correctly. You know, it's always, whether it was George W. Bush after the 2006 midterms, Barack Obama after 2010 midterms, you know, nobody wants to admit that maybe the dogs didn't like the dog food. You know, I don't think the Democratic Party has gone through if Coca-Cola had a bunch of people no longer drinking Coca-Cola, you'd want to actually go interview people who used to drink Coca-Cola and ask them, how come you're not drinking Coca-Cola anymore? I don't get the sense of that at all. There's still this idea, oh, no, if we just sell it better, if we just do it better. And then on the last comment, it's just kind of interesting. I do think what happened to the Democratic Party is they kept comparing Biden to Trump rather than Biden to what a president should be able to do. And I think everyone's like, well, Trump's kind of out there and it's good enough to go against Trump. Well, no, like that shouldn't have been but I do think whatever that explanation is, I think it all had to do with them judging Biden through the prism of, well, Trump's sort of out there, so it's good enough for that.
Ashley Allison, what do you think?
Look, in 2022, after the midterms, I said if you want to run for president and be the Democratic nominee, anybody who wants to run should be able to run. Unfortunately, a couple people, but
Dean Phillips.
Right, Dean Phillips stepped up. Democrats, we should have had a primary for this midterm election, and we didn't. And so now we're living with the consequences of it. I hope that our party wakes up and realizes it. And that me saying that doesn't mean that I don't respect Joe Biden. But there's a reality in that we should have given our voters an opportunity to make a decision for themselves. And by the time we had to make a decision, it was too late.
By the way, it's just 3 straight nominations where Democratic voters didn't get a chance to pick the nominee. The elites picked Hillary Clinton, the elites picked Joe Biden, and the elites picked Kamala Harris. There was no actual set of voters who felt like they had a say in this.
Yeah.
I'm also still wondering. So let's just assume that Democrats do not decide that they are interested in reformulating the pizza. They just want to spend time focused on refashioning the pizza box. I still don't even know what that's going to be. I mean, here we were talking about a strongly worded letter, and that got the endorsement of like, yep, that's what we need to be doing, more strongly worded letters. I'm not really sure that Democrats yet have figured out stylistically, how do we want to?
I mean, the voters think that
oppose-
that's incredibly lame right now, right?
Yeah.
That's what they're
Yeah,
telling
yeah.
us.
Right?
Remember the paddles at the State of the Union?
Wait, I'll just
falls?
say, okay. I think that there are some different conversations that are happening in the party. There are people like myself who are like, I'm getting out of Washington, D.C. I didn't stay here for the correspondence dinner. You know why? Because the voters I want to talk to, they aren't watching the correspondence dinner, whether there was a comedian or not. That is not what people are focusing on. They're not, sadly, getting their news from CNN. They're getting their news from online. And so I have also said this, that when Donald Trump lost in 2020, Republicans didn't change their message. They actually doubled down on it. I do think Democrats have policies that people like. I do think we have a communications and I think we have a messenger problem right now, which goes to the candidates. So we need to make sure we have, we talk about being the big tent coalition. We actually need to be the big tent coalition, which means sometimes you will have in your coalition people you don't always agree with. But that's what was so special about the Democratic Party.